Welcome all the participants and thank you for sharing your time today. The topic of today's seminar is training and education based on business simulations. I will talk today about... right, someone's typing. Okay, so I hope everyone hears me well. And today we're going to talk about business simulations and how can they be used in training and education, both for corporate and academics. Okay, so let's start. My name is Minaudas Latauskas. Oh, I'm sorry, introducing myself first. Okay, so my name is Minaudas Latauskas. I'm head of product development at Simformer. I work with new products and we develop various new learning courses and teaching courses. So in the process of development of our products, we faced one essential problem, and I believe most of you who are working with education are actually pretty well aware of this, that there in practice, well, there is a big gap among two. Even though the internet courses have been developed and there are a lot of solutions currently, a lot of solutions on as MOOCs, both Coursera, Udemy and edX, and speak a lot about this lack of practice, lack of practical skills that need to be developed as, well, new people start to work at their companies. So naturally, there's a question, what can be done to solve this problem? And we believe there is a solution. And the solution is available for most of you. Everybody knows that. And the gamification is probably the word as it is. Now, probably everybody knows the cone of learning. And this is the solution as it is. First of all, it is not enough just to give theoretical knowledge. What you need to access is to give a possibility for a student to do something. Basically, that's exactly where activity is involved. And that's exactly what I'm talking about, those 75 or 70%, depending on the theory. But usually, this is where sharing the knowledge gives you a possibility to engage the students, where they can actually not only learn, do something, experiment, and practice the doing part, but also teach each other. At this point, understanding the core concept even better. Thus, this next slide would be, we're talking about the games, gamification, and simulations. Now, overall, gamification is not a new trend. It's pretty well known for more a couple of decades. But right now, due to technological advancement, it becomes more and more available to any kind of users. Now, we have three general types of gamification or gamified realities. One is reality as a game, specifically when we're talking about business operations that are set as a game and the same structure. Gamification means that we're introducing into business processes and procedures the gamification elements, which means we're motivating people and making the process a little bit more fun. And the third part is simulated reality. Now, most probably know of you, well, first of all, will think about such a thing as flight simulators, right? So when you actually need to learn something, you need to develop a certain set of skills, and you're going towards that development, not on a real plane out of the blue, but actually spending some hours in the flight simulator, and thus developing the skills needed later on during the flight. So that, and there are at the moment the amount of simulations are increasing. A business simulation is only one of them. Military use simulations a lot. Now, as far as I know, medicine students tend to practice on operation simulations as well a lot. And that is what I think the best thing to show how it can be used, specifically simulations, how they can be used to develop certain set of skills needed. And this point can be combining the theory and practice and making theory into practice. Now, at Simformer, as we have, I can run forward and say that we have already simulation that's been online for about 8 years. and we're working with this solution, and we've been thinking, so how can we bring business simulations a little bit forward? You see, the business simulations, and I believe many of you have uncovered one or the other solution to this day, they're pretty much limited to either a set of procedures or processes, or either they're limited to certain business types. As far as I know, and the more we participate in various events and summits, we see that the amount of simulations and business simulations is pretty large. But the possibility to combine those simulations is quite limited, because these are either limited to a certain group of individuals, or either to a group of individuals that are limited by their specialization. Thus, we thought, okay, so we have the knowledge. We have the knowledge in LMS. We do have a solution in our simulation, but what's next? All right, so let's give a certain possibility to develop, their own simulations within the simulation, business simulation environment, to the developers or trainers. And in the end, let's make that a product that can be accessible by anyone on the internet. That's the marketplace. So naturally, the question is, how is that possible? Beforehand, I will tell you later on about two cases, how we did this. But before that, I will tell you a little bit more about our simulation, so you would understand how the whole thing works, and that will be more understandable. So what we have in Simformer business simulation, we have a mix. We have a business simulation and we have a peer-to-peer solution, which means there's such an element as virtual economy. We do not simulate the connections between players, and the participants of the simulation interact together. As you can see lower under the two groups of icons of the individuals, there's a large variety of activities that will have over 25 industries within simulation, which means we're not limited only to one product or one service. There's a large variety of activities there. And there's a possibility to make any kind of business structure as you wish. Naturally, as people interact, they can actually manage, one person can manage one company, or a group of people can actually manage one company, or a couple of individuals managing their companies can create a corporation, which will give them a possibility to achieve even better results. Naturally, these connections, this is exactly what can be hardly simulated, and that gives a certain dynamic, a natural behavior dynamic that is hard to, well, not that hard, it's basically impossible to simulate. Now, naturally, what we also have is that our simulation is available 24/7 all wide year. I mean, that means 365 days a year. It is available online globally, and to this day we have over 1 million registered users and about 50,000 monthly players as it is, which I'd say is quite an impressive number, and that's exactly how the core of virtual economy is created, so you can play anywhere you are. Now, considering the 25 industries and over 200 products, we can create the whole value chain, meaning starting with raw materials, oil, iron. We can combine them and create raw materials for the production. These materials then later on are used to create parts, as you can see here. And thus, in the assembly line, they form a motorcycle, as it is shown in this case, and later on also can be used for the service, as the motorcycle service, which then leads to the sales to the end consumer. And that is only one of the products. Taking into consideration the fact that there is the production line can be different. That can be set up out of a couple of steps, of 2 or 3, meaning we can produce as you can see, the engine, the tires, and then the metal. Or the production line can be actually longer, taking 4 or 5 steps, depending on the complexity of the product we're trying to sell or produce. So that's one thing we can provide, and that's how we create the environment, the business simulation environment, where players can build their own businesses. And that enables them to deal in a large amount of products. Also, in our simulation, players or participants can access all key business processes and functions, meaning as they grow their business, as they develop their business and their skills, they can open, close, change specialization, change the size, and take into consideration the R&D, and by expanding the businesses, I mean the subsidiaries. Naturally there is over 200 different products. We have over 115 different subsidiaries. So we can combine them as you like, and depending how you create your value chain. Naturally, human resources, equipment management, supply management, production, sales, and marketing. And all these are typical, and these can be managed, and I will show you how they look in our simulation. Now, this is a trade hall. A small shop, as we started with the motorcycles, we're continuing with the motorcycles. So this is a motor shop. So we have motorcycles, as you can see, a little bit lower there, and you can also, one second. All right, so this is the motorcycle, and these are the tires. Within the interface, as you click on the product, you will also access the market information, basically on that location or that town. Just to mention, we have over 33 countries and over 300 cities. So quite a lot of different market locations and segments to choose from. Now, here also you can see the sales statistics. Also, you can access the supply page. Even there are two ways to access it. And here you can manage your supplies. And here you can see what you have in stock, right, as the table it is. So basically that's also the quality, the brand, the purchasing price, the sale price you will be setting, also the market share you will be, it's available to you, and also the city average. So price per week, quality, and brand. So that is quite important during the price setting. Now, that is basically the main basic information you need to manage your retail. And that's the whole structure. And I'd say you have all the necessary, and you will be able to find all the necessary information here. As we continue, when you choose a supplier, there's a lot of possibilities to buy from, right? You can choose from a list of suppliers. So let's say this is actually oil from fast-moving consumer goods. So this is, as you can see also, I would like to mention that there are two kinds of suppliers. One, these are real players, real people, and these, with the globe on them, and these are computer generated. Right? So you can choose from their set of from what they're supplying you. You can choose depending on what price and quality combination and also brand combination you're looking for. Also, you have additional necessary information, so that's average value in city stores. So when you're choosing your supplier, you will also take in consideration the fact how competitive the good is. And also these are your active cash that is available, that you have at the moment in your account. Right, as you choose the goods, then you have to manage your personnel. So that's basically the whole list. The number of employees you can hire, the salary, also as you can buy, depending on how much you pay to your employees, their qualification changes. The more you pay, the higher is the qualification. That means for a higher salary, you can find a better qualified person. And also, you can also see how city average, where is the city average, and there's a certain amount of people or qualifications required to provide a certain service or to produce a good, depending on the equipment you will buy. Naturally, by supplying services, you have to really take in consideration the city average. So naturally, there's a lot of, let's say, a lot more data to take in consideration. Naturally, here, there's also one more important part during the supply chain management is that if you're buying goods, as you can see, the upper two, that's, well, potatoes and oil, these are bought from real people. Now, there's also a set of instability when you're buying from real people because, well, you can never know if those guys actually will manage their business properly and they can go out of the business. Or if, let's say, they do not supply, they manage their supply chain, the result would be that they will be out of stock and naturally you will be out of stock of those specific goods you're trying to sell. So at this point, you have to really watch your supply chain management, and at the same time, this is the dynamics that comes in. Also, we have to watch the list of suppliers because sometimes there are players that manage their businesses better and can supply you with the lower price of goods. So that's part of the supply chain, and here's the production. Well, this is, let's say, this is a screenshot from the factory. So we're making toys. Also, as you can see, as this is a specialization, gives a certain increase in quality, and this is the output. This is that's what I have in stock. So this is the output, what I will produce next turn. And also, I see my orders here. I see available goods to sell and the price. So as you can see the prime cost, you also can see the price. You're going to set those and sell depending who you want to sell. And also, the system gives you warning if certain of your you're out of raw materials or raw materials are not good, the quality of raw materials is not good enough. So also without operational, so let's say that what you can see there were operational tasks and how they manage them in the simulation. Also, there's a large amount of data available. So you will see the participants receive financial reports. They can actually see that different kind of cuts. There's a lot of marketing data. Also, as you manage your personnel, you have to take into consideration the average salaries and could change in qualification. You also have to take into consideration the supplies and logistics. There's also market leaders, how they're doing. You have to take into consideration that if, let's say, you found an empty niche, there is another market player that can actually come in and, well, start pushing you out of it. So naturally, you have to take into consideration that. And also, there's also macroeconomics. As I mentioned, there are 33 countries. Now, each country has its own geography, population, education levels, and also tax levels, custom duties. When you're planning your business, you have to take that in consideration as well. So as you can see, there's a lot of data available in the simulation and a lot of, well, decision making, in other words, as well. Right. Now, as every, mostly all business simulations, these are turn-based. Naturally, Simformer business simulation as well. Now, we have two different kind of servers and in other words, reels, two types of formats of the game. So one is the SBS Classic. That means it's a daily turn. There's a turn every day, and we have a lot more time for decision making, which is more suitable to educational and academic purposes. The SBS Fast is what we have for business solutions because, well, people in the business usually don't have the time and they need a result faster. So that's exactly how we form the games, and we make them faster and more intensive. I will show you later on how it works, but these are two main game formats we have. Now, the decision making. The decision-making, as you can see, it's a natural process or the cyclic process as it is in reality. So we have it here. We have tasks during the business games or the process of the simulation or the business development. We have tasks. Either you form tasks yourself or those tasks are formed by the educator or trainer. There's a lot of data, so you have to take into consideration the analysis part. Naturally, afterwards there are actions that come in. And, teachers or game moderators can evaluate that data. Afterwards, as the actions are made, the turn is made. During the turn, recalculation is made, and all the well, your decisions and actions are taken into consideration and the results are generated. 1 hour or 1 day in reality equals to 1 week in our simulation. After you receive the results, well, naturally there's evaluation of the results, addition analysis, and then again actions, decisions, turn, result, analysis, action, turn, result, and so on and so forth. Well, that's exactly how it goes in strategical management or any kind of business management. Now, question is, so how do we use that simulation in the production of the whole product or forming the whole product or solving a certain problem? And here we come to the practical cases we had. Vilnius University is one of the oldest, actually the oldest Lithuanian university we have. And we had a chance to work and we'll continue our development and work with Dalius Serafinas. That is actually, I can see he's online here at the moment. He is associate professor in Vilnius University and he teaches quality management. Now, when we started working, the main question was, okay, so we can teach, or well, not exactly teach. What can we do to provide a solution? What kind of solution can we provide for the course of quality management? The main problem of the quality management, let's say teaching quality, if I might say so, is that it requires a systematical understanding of the business, overall business processes. It means you have to know the whole value chain and you have to know how it works. And without practical experience in business management and the whole work with the value chain, it's basically impossible. And I don't know any of the businessmen that actually would allow students to toy a bit with their value chain. I mean, that would directly affect the business. So the solution we provided is that, first of all, we allow the students to enter global virtual economy in SBS, develop certain skills, manage the business, develop the business, see how well they can go, and then teach them quality management and make the connections between real-life business and virtual business. So basically, where they develop the skills in virtual environment, we link them to the real skills and theory as well. So as you can see, we take knowledge from Vilnius University, we get the practice in Simformer, and what we get are the skills. The basic structure, well, the theory, cases, and seminars, we didn't change that. That's exactly what we need. That's the theory part. What we gave in addition is that we gave a virtual economy and business possibility to develop that business. Also, read real and virtual business-based case studies, and then connecting the theory and practice. Naturally, as a result, what we get is a systemic comprehensive approach. Basically, that students start to see business not a set of skills or set of subjects they're learning in university, but a system, a structure. Naturally, the game, as you have already seen, requires a lot of analytical data, analysis of the data. So we develop their analytical skills and we work on their decision making. Because if you don't make the decisions, there will be no business. As a result, we started in March. The beginning of March, that was the start. We had 60 students of around 22 virtual companies. And, well, in the process, naturally, as I call it, natural hierarchy, some went bankrupt, some were underachievers, some were in the middle, and some of them were quite high performers. So naturally, even though five of the companies went bankrupt, there's such a possibility, but they started from scratch again, and still they managed to become profitable. Now, out of those 22 companies, 3 managed to reach billions. Right, quite a lot, quite a success. You will see the overall report how it looks like. The program, now there was also a question, so how did we manage to show them real business, real cases? Well, that was thanks to Dalius. And also, in the middle of the game, we invited real businessmen, the representatives from various businesses to actually see presentations of the students when they were presenting their virtual businesses. So real businessmen actually acted as investors. In the process, after hearing all the presentations, they had a lot of comments and a lot of good things, a lot of good stuff for the students to take into consideration. Also, as I say, that was the next step when they said, okay, well, that's nice, but simulation is one thing, that's a good thing, but how about this and that? How about why didn't you choose a little bit different approach in your strategy, and maybe that would actually generate a little bit more income? And so in the result, as at least one of the examples, that gave students even a further development, we showed students how it can be linked from virtual business to reality. Oh, and I might say that all those 3 billionaires actually, they were scouted out by the HR people that we had among the business representatives. Now this is, as you can see, these are the group results. It's exactly what we can see. This is a list of students, or their names of the companies and, well, the logos they choose. And as you can see, the assets, that's exactly the company size. So they started with 10 million. Quite a decent amount of growth, I'd say, in their business, going for, well, let's see, what's that, 286 billion. Well, quite impressive. So as you can see, naturally it formed a structure that some were high achievers, some were not. But initially, those who spend a lot more time and work analyzing the data and making the right decisions had the result. Those who were indecisive or didn't analyze the data, well, as you can see them, they're somewhere down there below. So this is a natural way to actually see how people are well performing. And for those who are looking for solutions for personnel assessment, I'd say that's exactly when you can see how people are, their competencies, how they're competent enough or not. Can they do well? I mean, throw into the business, people from business, and you will see a very interesting result. Now, but later on about that. So we have some student feedback. I won't read everything to you, but I'll have to admit that the one of those most interesting idea I've read, actually feedback, is exactly that quality management is not only good shoes. Now, it's true that when people learn theory, they're understanding how the whole thing works. Well, it changes during the process of study or learning, and that's exactly what we're aiming at. True learning is when students understand certain concepts, and then as a result, their thinking changes. They don't see the same concept the same way, and naturally their actions start to change. So that's a perfect result in my opinion. Also, I wanted to share one slide. And this is one of the students, actually, and this is what he formed, and as he called it, an SBS hierarchy of needs. That's the guy. That's exactly where he started when he started playing, and that's very interesting and very perceptive, in my opinion, for this young person. That's very interesting because he actually was quite lazy in the beginning, but as he saw the challenge, he got quite drawn in, and that's exactly how he drawn the whole thing. So from one side, it's very interesting to see the analytical thinking, the way he forms his, let's say, actions, and the way he grows the business, and at the same time that, naturally the idea he used is actually the pyramid of Maslow, but of the needs. But that's exactly how he formed, and that's exactly how he used theory he learned in studies, and now he just he used the case and formed the whole result, which in my opinion is one of the also very good examples how it can be done while teaching. Right, the teacher feedback. Dallas, I'd say, was quite impressed and very happy to see the results because he also changed the exam structure, and exactly when he said, okay, students, dear students, you manage your virtual business, so now please tell me how you did quality management in your business. And naturally he wanted to hear them using their own words. So as far as I know, the overall results were pretty good. Also, Darius was happy to see that people, his pupils were actually started to think. It's also a very different thing when they're actually throwing out the same keywords and theory and that's it. But when they start to explain with their own words, you see that people think, people understand what they've been taught. So that is the case that it comes from education. And now we have an example that we had in UniCredit, Romania. We had a task. We were asked to form a game for regional top managers, for them to play and test their strategical thinking. However, there were two different kind of groups. Some wanted to test their teamwork skills, and some wanted to test their strategical thinking. So as a result, we created a game, but we played it in two different kind of setups. As you can see, we have individual setup and we have team setup. So we had 2 days, 2 training days. And one day we had only team setup. On the other day we had individual setup. And we had 6 hours of non-stop training. So we wanted to see how well, not only, well, how well they're doing strategically in their strategical thinking, how well they're in their analytics, how well they actually will be, how creative they will be in searching for solutions, but also to see how resistant to stress they will be, especially when they may be making decisions individually, and they will be making decisions in the team. So this is the corporation in distress timeline. This is our solution. This is one of the games where we have developed, and we can actually find that in our marketplace already. So this is the timeline of 6 hours. We had only 1 hour to give basic rules of the game, form tasks, give time for task execution, and also then make small presentations about the decisions made and why those decisions were made. So not much time, really. Well, as you can see, there's not even lunch here, huh? But actually, well, there was food here. And there was small food break. But the interesting part is that the participants were so drawn in that when we said, okay, guys, 15 minutes, food break, they said, forget the food, give us numbers. What about the results? Yes, people are really, they got really drawn in. Now, the main thing is that with the amount of data thrown at them and various tasks, they had very dynamic game because they had very limited time. And naturally, they said in the end, the environment was a little bit different because UniCredit is a bank. What we threw them into is the management of a corporation that is in distress. There's an international corporation, and some of the subsidiaries were not doing well. So naturally, they had to put those corporations on their feet and win the game, which was not a very easy task. As a result, however, I have to admit I was happy that they did manage to pull it off. Now, about the game formats, one more thing to take in consideration. Now, as you can see, there are 2 different game formats, and there are different set of skills that are developed, even though the game is basically the same. But as they start to work in teams, naturally, the teamwork has to be a lot more formed up, a lot more focus on their teamwork and ability to work in a team to make decisions. While individuals had to manage a lot more operational tasks, while teamwork in the team, people can actually divide those tasks. Naturally, what we didn't appoint leaders. They appointed themselves. They managed to form within the team, appoint leaders who would solve what, who would do what. And naturally, activity was the main thing, not to sleep. Work, achieve the result. And while individual setup, players had to think strategically. They had very limited time and a large amount of things to do, while in the team setup, they can actually divide and make it in time. In individual setup, some of them didn't make it in time. So naturally, there's a lot of challenge at this point, but even though the game is the same, and depending how you play it and for what kind of, is it that individual setup or team setup, you will have a different result. Now, this is the result, specifically of team play. As you can see, even though that's an interesting part is, to begin with, is that as you can see, this is evaluation of those both teams. So naturally, right? So these are guys that actually are playing. The two teams, we were analyzing how well they were looking, making an assessment. And as a matter of fact, the smart team versus the Tigers, smart team had a slightly weaker individuals. And as a group, I could say they were slightly weaker. However, their ability to form a very good teamwork managed to get them up, managed to get them win the whole thing. So I'd say that was a very interesting experience. Even though they were pretty close from each other and they managed to grow business pretty well, still, especially in decision making and in teamwork, how they managed to split and make the right decisions pretty fast using all the time they had, even though limited, is to see how well they form the result and how well they do. Yeah, also, I like to notice that during the evaluation of these players, it was used, one of the results of our assessment was also used to choose one of these top performers for a higher position. Basically, it was also not only to see their strategical thinking and teamwork, but also to see who would be most suitable for a certain higher position and to go higher in the ranks. So it appears that we chose exactly the same person they were looking for, and both our opinion and the opinion of HR from UniCredit actually matched. So I'd say that was a good thing also to see how it works. I could say that in reality and in business simulation, the high performers are still there as high performers. So from there, from the participants' point of view, they were really happy, and I'd say they were really impressed. They were really willing to share the experience. Now, as you can see, we use the NPS score. The 70% said that they would actually, 70% would actually actively recommend Simformer game moderators. Oh, me being one of them. And 65% would actively recommend the training itself. Now that means that actively recommend, they would give out of 10, 7, 8, 9, or 10, I believe. So that's we had no negative feedback at this point, considering that we met them the first time, and these guys are really professionals, and they're pretty used to professional high-end training. I'd say we have pretty good results. So as you can see, I've shared with you two cases. Now again, back to the question. So so we have solutions. How do we share that experience with someone different on the marketplace? We already developed a corporation in distress game. We have actually three modes: classic, extreme, and intensive. We can actually find that already in Simformer.com, and during September we will also put up a course of quality management by Darius Serafinas, also on Simformer Marketplace. And these two solutions are different because quality management course is mostly for education, while corporation in distress is mostly focused on the B2B clients. However, both can be used both for academics and by corporate HR training and the like. Now, the main structure is there because we're using Moodle LMS, and people actually, well, we used basic structure. Okay, let's go to the platform, and I'll explain a little bit more about the platform and how exactly it works. All right. So, as I mentioned, we're using Moodle. So we give all the necessary information. Now, these business games are accessible both online or on-site. We can do that both. So naturally Moodle is there to manage all the necessary information and to manage, to give that data and also to manage the learning overall. As you've seen before, in Dalu's case, we took the theory and put up already together with the simulation. Now, development tools are there. One sec. The development tools are there to set up a simulation within the big simulation business environment, a specific simulation that is needed to match the knowledge that is already in the learning management system. So basically, to have that connection, to build that connection. Already, as players are, or students, or business game players are already in the business simulation when they're developing their businesses, performing tasks developed by the development tools. They learn and also get all the necessary information from the Moodle. So there's that connection, that practice can be achieved. Theory can be used in two ways. One, there are two types of learners basically. Those who like to actually dig in, get their teeth in practically, throw themselves into the water and see how, well, it's a single situation, so they understand the system, how the core basic system, how it works. And then afterwards, after they understand how it works, they go for the theory. Or, as the others are, well, those are doers, and these are, let's say, learners. So naturally, they go into the theory, they understand how it works, and then jump into the simulation, and then try to apply what they have learned from the theory. So these are basic two types of people, the way they learn, right? And at the same time, we can work with both. So this is the basic structure, and we can go a little bit more about the developer tools. I believe that most of you will be interested in. Now, the developer tools allow the moderator, game moderator, or the teacher, or educator, or HR, personnel trainer, to manage the participants, to invite, form groups the way they want. There are two things that can be done. One, well, there's a combination of training methodologies that can be used, traditional and non-traditional. So we can use the business environment, the business simulation environment, for certain tasks and giving them the business environment. But certain techniques can be used out of the simulation naturally, especially if you're working with teams. Then you can manage the simulation setup. Now, it is not necessarily you want well, production guys, someone who's working in production, and if you want them to learn well, retail business, then you will give them specifically retail business. As we have 25 industries, we have a lot of possibilities. Naturally, you can focus and scale down from the whole value chain into a small specific business operation you want to learn. So in our case, when we had UniCredit, the most of the business was actually thrown into retail business. So, but we didn't go into production. We just went into the retail because we didn't have enough time, right? So retail is a fast business. Production usually takes time, and R&D even more. So naturally, depending on what you need and what are your goals, and what kind of time limitation you have, you can actually then set up a certain specific simulation to meet your, well, requirements and to meet your goals, depending specifically what you want your students to learn. In the process, you can actually then monitor the activity of the participants to see how well they're doing, as I already have shown you in the case of quality management. You've seen a list, and that is only one of the, let's say, the reports you can get to see how well they're performing. If some are doing well, then naturally that's okay. If some are doing less, well, I mean, they're underperforming. The main question is, and you can actually go deeper and analyze their actions, which brought a certain result. The question is, is that higher? Well, and the reasons naturally why the result is so bad. Now, one of the main things is that simulation setup. Second part is that as you are starting a business game, the main question is, how do we start it? Now, you can form your own starting setup. specific, as you mentioned, is you form the setup overall. You form a certain combination of companies you want to give to your students, or either that you want to give them a starting position, basically just give them the money and give them tasks. So they open their own companies, and you see how well they're doing. In global setup, with that, we mean that do you want them access all 33 countries or even more, or want them to actually start playing and competing in, let's say, one country or even one town, depending on the size of the town and how intensive you want to make the game. And actually, you can also limit a certain level of interaction of the participants, because either they can participate and play together with other players, or they can be limited to interaction only among each other. Basically, that's within the group. And as that, we go to the setup of goods and suppliers. You can limit them with the goods, depending on your setup. And you can limit them to suppliers. They can buy and sell to the other players or not. That, in the end, gives you a possibility to form the whole game as you want it, and also allows you to monitor how well they're doing, what is their activity, how they are making their analysis, actions, what kind of decisions, and what kind of results they receive. In this case, that's exactly perfect for HR analysis, for personnel assessment, to see what kind of, how they're thinking, right? What kind of level, at what kind of level they are, right? At what kind of level their management is, and certain specific skills, where are they? Are they suitable or not? And naturally, with the students, you can also see how well it is available for them, say, to grow. And for naturally, then we go to the training and education solutions, so that are available on SBS. So basically, what we can do here is train people, organize business games, on-site and online. We can make education courses. We can help students find their professional orientation as they try different types of businesses and how they see a different kind of operations, procedures, processes. They manage their businesses and they see themselves in the business. So naturally, it's a question for them, okay, so if I like that and I don't like that, then most probably I'll be looking for something like that in the future when I'll be doing my job. Naturally, as I mentioned, personal assessment is also there. So you can assess people when you're actually both ways. When you're recruiting and when you're working with already a formed team or individuals that are already working in your company, when you want to actually assess their competence. The competence assessment is very important specifically because when you're trying to find a capable individual and to put him from one department to another, and you're not exactly sure if he will be able to adapt and to work in a different kind of environment, this is exactly what you can do in business simulations. Here they can experiment, make mistakes, and at the same time you can see how well they will be reacting when they will be making mistakes. Can they fix those mistakes or not? So we can find out here. And naturally, if you're looking to organize any kind of championships or Olympics, business for entrepreneur Olympics, for example, we can do that as well. Right. And we have a new participant, I see. Okay. Right. So the last part of the marketplace. All these solutions are available for course developers. So either you're looking for already formed course, that's one thing, or if you're looking to develop a course, you can actually use Simformer as well. And at the moment, we're also looking widely for people that have the basic knowledge, they have the knowledge, have experience, and can develop games. Why? As you can see, both business and universities and private clients require these kind of solutions by people, capable people, that can bring that knowledge with fully developed business game or a product or a course for the global market, right? So let's say we have one of those courses based on simulation. We hang them here. can be developed by Dalus and is developed by Dalus, and we will have that on September, as I mentioned. And that course now cannot only be available to the Vilnius University students, but will be available to the whole world. I'd say that's a great opportunity for anyone to learn and to share that knowledge. So naturally, if you're looking for a possibility to develop your courses and give those to the international market, that's exactly what we can help. Because we're at the platform, we're developing the platform, we're looking for possibility to give people not only to develop something, but also to sell it. Naturally, if there's a question about sales, so naturally there's a question, so how does the whole partnership works? Naturally, depending on who you are and what you do, you develop the package, right? We develop that together. We have the simulation, we know the simulation, we know you know your course, we combine a product. Naturally, as a result, in the global sales, we split it evenly, 50-50. So if you're an author and a trainer, or if you're an author and you have a trainer, you can, well, it depends how you split it, but we suggest again 50-50, but either way, you will have part of it. You have 50% of what you have earned, and the 50% will go to us. We have to maintain the system and develop it further on. Naturally, the question is why you should do that. Well, we're going to give you simulated reality, a possibility to create environment and to form and to guide your students or employees or even maybe employers to a certain point when they learn something. Also, that way you can create new value, because with the help of simulated reality, you can pass on your knowledge and your message and change the behavior the way you want to change it. And that way you can actually also initiate change management and help you change management, because you can initiate changes in your organization. And that way you can create new value with your courses. And that value is available 24/7 for the whole wide year on the web. Now, if you're interested, you can actually find that demo in our online site. If you'll be willing to ask something more personally, we can actually arrange a personal demonstration to show how the whole thing is developed, or specific cases how can be done. I will later on post on my contact, so you can contact me. And I guess now it's time for the questions.